Welcome to Composers the Podcast. This is Juwon Lim. In this episode, Laura Jobin-Acosta, who recently obtained her master's degree in composition from Purchase, talks about her experience as an emerging opera composer. Laura is a recipient of the Idea Opera Residencies. So, Laura, what is your most recent project? Let's start with that one.
Oh, well, I have a couple of most recent ones. I just finished one, but I'm also working on one right now. So the one I just finished was my first professional quote unquote commission. I did not make that much money. It's not that much money, but it's technically paid. So I'm a professional. Yeah, so it was really cool. A friend of mine actually asked me to do it, and because she's part of this ensemble, and the pandemic kind of like made it easy because everybody had to record from home. So I was able to get their vocals sent over. It's a piece for 3 singers and a drone and an organ. It just kind of ended up being like that.
Yeah, I also heard the news that you have been selected to as the finalist of BNP Next Generation Project. Congratulations on that one.
Thanks, thank you. It's really cool. I did not think that this was gonna happen, and I was like, oh my god. And now I'm here. I hope I win. In a lot of ways I've already won.
Oh, so are you already working on the project?
Oh yeah, I submitted portions of a piece that I already wrote. It was actually the piece I wrote for my graduate thesis project, my final one. So I sent that in myself singing with a MIDI file because, you know, it was like the middle of the pandemic. There's no way I could pay to have my music performed either. So I did that, sent in the score, of course, and yeah, they liked it. So I'm doing 2 excerpts from the whole piece, which is actually called The 7 Last Words of Christ. Actually, Haydn wrote a 7 Last Words of Christ. That's how people know that name. But the church where I sing unofficially commissioned me. They kind of asked me if I'd be interested in writing, setting them. So that was also my graduate thesis project. And I'm just feeling grateful that at least part of it can be performed. And it's so nice to like know that amazing quality musicians and conductors and organizers are going to be behind the scenes, and I'm sure it's going to look really cool too. Yeah, I'm super excited, and I'm actually really, really happy and grateful about it. I'm just like kind of in shock, you know, like.
Yeah, it's so cool. Have you always been interested in writing opera?
Oh, opera? Not always. But I ended up going down this route just because it just sort of feels natural at this point. I mean, being a soprano myself and having a lot of experience singing classically in an opera, as well as listening to it, being exposed to it all my life, I sort of feel like I have been sort of building up to writing an opera. I feel like I have a lot to express and say and contribute like in a big way. You know how opera is like so big. So I feel like I have that desire, and I just want to try it, and I'm trying it right now. So
Yeah, writing an opera is like the project is so big and they commission you and they say like basically tell you you have 5 years and you have 5 years to work on it. I think it's just so daunting.
5 years? That sounds great. I was trying to write I'll tell you more about this. Okay, so let me tell you about how I thought I could write an opera in less than a year. And how I'm realizing you really cannot. So basically, like, I'm sort of like a person who's like, okay, you can't tell yourself that you can't do something unless you try it, and you can't really like learn how to do something until you try it. So I tried, and I had like a plan, and I had a subject and I had a like storyline, and I set up all these interviews with people who could inform us more on this character. And then I just sort of handed it off to my librettist like it was going to be the next thing. Like, okay, now you do the libretto, and then I'll set the music, and then we'll be done. So I wasn't anticipating that it needs like a whole another level of like really intimate sort of work, like where you have to go into detail about like, you know, why is a person saying something, and like think more deeply about their characters. You have to worry about the structure. That's probably the hardest part for me, is like the structure of the situation is so large. I'm not used to thinking that way. And then you also have to think of like, you know, what should people get out of this? And so I'm thinking about all those things now and realizing that my initial story proposal was like so weak. I'm relooking at a lot of things, and I'll be happy if we present a couple of scenes from this opera rather than the whole opera, which I was very ambitious about, and realizing it's not really gonna happen, but okay. Who knows?
Well, yeah, it will happen.
I hope so. Yeah, I think it will. It just has to. I would rather it be at the point where I'm already writing the music, because I kind of can't really do anything right now. Like I've been learning what a dramaturg is. Dramaturg is really important, and it's sort of like an unnoticed role when it comes to writing the opera. But like now, people are starting to become aware of this. It's by people, I mean me. I mean maybe other people knew about this. I did not know. But yeah, we're gonna like consult with this dramaturg to sort of like get a little bit closer to knowing how to construct this idea. I mean, it's been nice to be able to lean on a few people for help and advice.
Laura, what was your journey like from college to real world as an emerging composer?
You mean from grad school to like right now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll start a little bit earlier because I didn't really respect or acknowledge my composer side. I was always like, it's something I do, but like I'm not really that good, or like I'm terrible at music theory, which I still am. I was so bad at it in my undergrad. I had to retake it one semester. It was really bad. But I'm not afraid to admit that. I don't really care. Who knows it? Because music theory is not everything. So eventually I got over that, and I found people will accept you regardless of that if you have something that you want to say musically. So I followed that voice and ended up applying to grad school and loved every minute. Like I loved grad school, and I loved all those teachers. They were ridiculous. SUNY Purchase is like a gem. But yeah, so I knew before I graduated that I needed to have something on my to-do list. Like I needed to have the next thing to work towards. I kind of always want to be doing that, always have a thing to be working on. Even if I plan to not be doing something, I'd rather have planned it. You know, beside that aside, I had this in mind to apply to this residency at the time. I just, two people recommended that I look into it, and I decided, okay, what the heck. So I applied to this residency, the Upper America Idea residency, before really submitting all that all of that material and filling out the application and whatnot. COVID happened. So that was like a big downer, but they extended their application deadline, thankfully. So I was able to spend more time on recordings to send them. Like one of the pieces I sent to them was a piece assigned to me in PNM, the one where I worked with the flute department, because they were unable to rehearse enough. Tara O'Connor, the head of the flute department, was like so generous and recorded all of the flute parts, 6 flutes, including 2 alto flutes. And she did it to a click track, and she sent me the culmination of everything. And I mean, I'm still so, so grateful. to this day. I actually listened to the recording earlier today, because it provided me a scenario in which I could just record the vocals over them. And because of that, I actually had something to submit that I was proud of that was recent. So I did, and then I just, spent a lot of time on that application, revising and revising and revising and revising, until I felt like I couldn't revise anymore. And then I sent that in and just kind of waited a really long time. like half of a year of being in a pandemic. Yeah, so that was really hard. Like I didn't know until November that I had gotten accepted. So I had all that time to just sort of like, be like everybody else, depressed and aimless and wandering and knowing not what to do and applying to jobs left and right and being worried and everything. So it was a really weird way to just transition into this part, and it took me by surprise that I even got in. But I still can't believe I'm in. Like I'm free. I'm in the 4th month of this residency, and I'm just like, oh my god, I can do whatever I want. Like as a musician, I'm like, I can do whatever I want. Like I want to write an opera, and I get to ask for that, and like I feel so freaking lucky. Like it's amazing. Like I'm so like there's nothing like getting what you want. And then still being surprised because you get more than you've expected. And just like I keep being surprised left and right. And so the least I could do is like work my butt off. Like seriously, like work and like seriously mean it and work and don't stop and like respect your craft and do it every day and never leave it.
Yeah, do you have like actual schedule like for your composition?
Do I have a schedule?
Yeah, just
Like
wondering.
what do you mean? Like do I compose every day kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, I don't. But the world of composition is and music and performing also in other people's music is just all inclusive. You're saying yes to helping other people out. You're thinking about grants. You're thinking about future projects. You are staying in contact. You're working on your scores, perfecting them so you can get them copywritten, which I still have yet to do. You can work on yourself. You can make sure that you're eating healthy and like keep your mind like clear. I prefer to compose when I have a deadline or a sort of vision in mind.
Well, are there any difficulties in establishing work-life balance as a composer leading up to that conversation?
Yeah, good transition. Yeah, it's difficult, but I do the same thing every day pretty much in terms of just getting up, eat breakfast. I don't put too much pressure on myself in the morning, and I just watch a mindless show that I shouldn't watch, for my brain health, but I do it anyway, and I don't worry too much about it. So and then drink coffee and sort of get ready for the day. And so that ritual, that sort of like maintenance, like kind of gets me set for what I have to do. But there are times when I don't have anything to do, and or I'll be doing some side work. I've done so many so many hustling jobs, like so many. Like COVID makes it so hard, but I do watch some kids sometimes during COVID, and I still have my church job, and I still am a section leader for a choir. So those things are very set. But like when it comes to I don't have a plan for when this ends and when the pandemic ends, and I should think more seriously about like what I should do for my side job. A lot of people feel very drawn to like wanna teach, and I should probably do that, but I just really like working on music and like projects. I'm still learning, but work-life balance, like I'm sure you remember whenever I was at Purchase, like I was always tired and always intense because I was doing so many things. Like I was teaching at a music school in the city. I was singing. on Sundays. I was singing on Mondays. So, and then I was doing grad school full time, and I was commuting, and it took 2.5 hours to commute. I mean, like those are just, balancing all that was
That's so
crazy.
crazy.
It was, but it
How did you
takes.
handle that?
Well, I'll tell you, I just always try to eat well, and I
Mm,
always try to get enough sleep, and I allowed myself occasional moments to like drink heavily if I needed to. But I just like loved what I was doing so much that it kind of was pretty easy. Like I was tired, but I was like, dude, I'm doing what I want to do. Like I want to do this. And so I feel energized to do it. So yeah, that's just how it went. I'm sure that's not the golden answer you were looking for, but eat well, sleep well.
well, getting gigs and collaboration is kind of difficult now. Like they're online performances, but it happens, but it's different. So, well, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. They're really different. COVID like was hard for everybody, I'm sure, and for a long time, I felt similarly to some of my friends who were open about how they just felt uninspired and lethargic and just sort of like had no idea what to expect next. But I just have to credit Laura Kaminsky. Like she's so amazing. She created this opportunity for all of her students to compose a piano piece, and her friend was gonna record them, and like that was so amazing. Like I had already graduated. She didn't need to reach out to me and include me in that, but because of that, I felt like, oh, I still know how to compose. I just needed this deadline and this sort of idea, and something came out. Like I was so pleased just to know that. I also participated in a an online play. Like it was right at the beginning of Zoom, and so it felt really exciting to participate in that as a singer, and also I arranged some of the pieces. Looking back, not my favorite pastime. Like who wants to perform a Zoom performance? Nobody does. So I still, prefer live, and I'm so thankful that it's becoming more and more of a possibility every day. But like regarding the way that I compose, I guess I just got more familiar with who I am as a composer. Just sort of like had some time to reflect on what I have composed and sort of view it in a new way, and just sort of start to, I don't know, just figure out who I am. And because there's so much home time, like for me, honestly, that wasn't so different than the kind of life I prefer to live, like at home and just kind of leave and do occasional things, like teaching and whatever. But without that, there was a lot more home time. I definitely felt anyway, I'm going like too far back into it. I'm so much better now. Like now it's personally I have all these wonderful projects, but I know that the music community, is also feeling more free to just like plan and hope and like continue forward and not be like burdened as much, and just sort of like feeling the weight come off. So that's so nice, and I love seeing like posts and stuff where people are oh, I just stepped into a concert hall for the first time in a year, or like I just performed with another musician for the first time in a year, and seeing that, it's just like, oh my god, yes, this is good, it's expanding, it's growing. Yeah, so it was hard.
So, Laura, you're also a singer, right?
Mhm.
Well, being a performer and composer, how did it affect you in a way, the working process and like in general?
Oh, yeah. Well, yep, I'm a singer. So the way that I approach composition is often from a place of like expression in a line, like a writing melody. Like melodies inspire me to write, so I often start with like a beautiful melody, and then I just sort of expand from there. I think that probably has a lot to do with singing. But like also as a composer, I feel like I'm sort of bringing in like sort of conversational elements to my music. I'm not sure. I haven't really talked about this before, so I'm just sort of exploring that. Um, but what was the second half of your question?
Um, just did it ever affect you in a way? Like the fact that you're a singer and you're composing other instrument, like you unconsciously might think about writing for vocal, like
Actually, I was just looking at a piece I wrote for percussion ensemble, like pitch percussion, and I was remembering conversations I was having with Dom about why are you slurring, not slurring, but writing a phrase marks. I would write phrase marks everywhere for musician or instrumental players. It's pretty uncommon, but I think phrase wise, in terms of expression, like when it comes to paper, I want to be as detailed as possible so that if I'm not there, they're going to have some idea of what I want. And phrase marks are a way of doing that. But I was realizing, like, oh, this kind of confuses string players. It brought a lot of confusion. So maybe if I start to like write a note of why I do it, like it'll start to make more sense. Like if I write a little note in the beginning. Um, but yeah, another thing that I have noticed is that I'm really picky about who sings my music. And if I would like, I would much rather write for for the voice that I'm thinking rather than just write a piece and just have whoever singing it. I mean, that's inevitable. Like, I'm eventually going to have to let go, and other people are just going to perform my music without me. But while I have the power to have a say, I'd rather like really be involved in deciding who sings it, and also like sort of be able to coach them and sort of like talk to them singer to singer about like what techniques they can do to kind of bring out what I was hoping for, or even just like do it myself, and if I can't explain it. Um, and so I like being able to do that. It's just like, as a composer, you want to be able to control the outcome to reflect your original vision as much as possible.
yeah, great answer. So you've been working on a lot of projects since grad school, like instrumental works and operas. Where do you get all inspirations from to work all of the projects?
Um, well, I get a lot of inspiration from uh, just sort of like constantly staying around performing. Like I'm really 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 lucky to have my church job, so it's um, it's just like really nice to be able to sing new music every week and just sort of always hear so many harmonies in the organ. I love the organ so much. And then besides that, just sort of like stay in tune. I guess I get a lot of inspiration from like Middle Eastern kind of stuff, and I don't really know where it comes from exactly, but it feels really, really natural. Maybe it's just like something like I was born to like or something. I don't know. It's like, how do you decide, what is your voice? So, I mean, that's a whole different conversation. But yeah, I don't I try not to listen to music to like think of new ideas or like get ideas from people, but I try and listen to music so that I feel like pumped, like cool. Now I want to write some music, or just like in a way that's like deeply appreciative of whatever the performer composer, where their heart is in the music. I guess I look for a lot of heart and like authenticity, and I found that it's pretty easy to spot that. And so it's hard for me to just like, listen or be exposed to something, or tolerate within myself anything that's inauthentic, because I don't want to like produce something that's like, why would I want to do that? like I know I have some stuff. I was looking on my CV and I was like, oh, that was a pretty piece. I should probably take it off. Like, cool that I wrote for these instruments, but like it's pretty and I'd rather like show people what is like super cool and what I really like about my music. So
Yeah. Also, you brought up about finding your voice. How did it work for you? Do you feel like you found your voice now?
oh yeah, totally. I feel like I've always known what I want to hear in the world. I remember telling my dad that specifically. I'm like, this, I just write this music because this is what I want to hear in the world. Like, I feel like it's always been very clear. And for those, you know, people who are listening who want to get some sort of idea of what that is, just to stop listening to other people's music and stop like trying to find the inspiration from outside of yourself, but to just really find it within yourself and not compare yourself to anybody. Just do what you want to do. Like I've always kind of done that, like in my life, like I kind of just do what I want to do and don't really care what other people think necessarily. That in some ways is debatable, but for the most part, I feel like no, I'm gonna do what I want to do. I trust my intuition. I stay centered. Um, I'm always thinking about it, kindling it, and if it's not there, it's like I'm dead. So intense. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's really good advice. Well, Laura, thank you for joining the conversation.
Yeah. So well, thanks. Thanks for asking me. I feel super honored and excited, and
Okay, have a good rest of your day.
I will. Thank you. You too.
Goodbye. Thank you for listening to the Composer Stuff podcast. I hope you enjoyed the episode.